Okay. All right. Hi, Jason. I've completed the prototype for the body image experiment. I'm doing a recording, just so you guys can see how it runs, and I can, talk you through the process. Um, so just to let you know, I've put in the OneDrive, the shared folder, the characters that are used for the experiment. So I've got right now 5 different bases, base A, B, C, D, and E. And then for each base, I've got 3 variations: a size 1, normal size, and a size 7. So if you want to have a look at them, go to the OneDrive folder, and then just right click on them, and where we go, open with 3D viewer. Right, then you can have a look at the characters that are used. Right, so that's size 1. Let's look at size 7. There we go. That's size 7. And of course, base A, that's the healthy size. There we go. So the body types in between those extremes, I will generate them a little bit later. But for now, for the prototype, I suppose we could do with just the median and the 2 extremes. Um, yeah, and just just to quickly show you the other variations of those bodies. There we go. That's one. That's another one. There we go. There we go. All right. So those are the body types that I've used in this prototype. So let's talk about running the experiment. So let me just close this. Same thing. I'll put this in the shared folder, and then you just copy and paste the entire folder onto the desktop, and then you can double click on the executable file, which should let you run the simulation. In terms of setting things up, right? If you go to this folder, body image experiment data, there's a XML file in there. So that's basically the trial, the file that contains all the trial data. So I'll show you what I mean. So if you just drag this XML file onto Excel and open it up as an XML table, so you'll see that right now I have just some dummy blocks in there, block 1, 2, and 3, and then of course I have some trials in each block, 10 trials in each block, and of course the condition, I call it alone, and then where you have the female subject just by herself, then you have overweight distractors and underweight distractors. Again, right now all these the distractors and targets here are just I just randomly generated them. I didn't actually make sure that the distractors were all overweight. So when comes time to actually run the experiment, the experimenter just needs to make sure that, you know, we have a size 7 for the distractors, you know, D1, D2, D3, D4. So when I run the demonstration later, it's not an error if you see the subject being surrounded by distractors of varying sizes. Um, so so just make sure that when you actually run the experiment, the distractors, their size are all size 7 for the overweight distractor condition, and they're all size 1 for the underweight distractor condition. So yeah, so again, I've given you enough flexibility so that you can indicate for each trial what target you want to use. So base A, base B, base C, base D, or base E, those body types I showed you earlier, and what size you want that target to be, whether you want it to be a size 1, a size 4, or a size 7, and of course those in betweens I'll generate a little bit later. And the same thing for the distractors. You know, you can indicate for distractor 1 what base do you want it to be, A, B, C, D, or E, and what size you want it to be, and yeah, it's the same for the other distractors. And of course, I've also given you enough flexibility to indicate how long you want the distractors to be up there for. So right now, I know we talked about putting it in there for 250 milliseconds, but I'm putting 1 second here because it's easier to demonstrate when it's up there a little bit longer. When it comes time to run the actual experiment, you know, just put in the value you actually want to use. You know, it could be 250 milliseconds, so put 0.25 or 500 milliseconds or whatever. And then right now the rating is 0 and the response time is 0 because this is just a blank file. After we do the experiment, all these values will get populated. So, you know, the rating value goes from 1 to 7. And of course, the response time is the time the participant takes to select a response. So, so let's say the experimenter has set up everything and has properly populated the trial data files. And then once this is done, we can just go to the executable file and double click on it to run it. So I'm going to run it now, and I'm going to put on my headset to show you what it looks like. All right. All right. So now I'm in the simulation, and we can see the instructions screen. So it says, welcome to today's experiment. You will be required to judge the slimness of a female subject right in front of you by clicking a value on a sliding scale. So 1 is extremely thin, 4 is healthy weight, 7 is extremely overweight. The target will appear only briefly, so please pay attention. On some trials, there may or may not be other females surrounding the target. However, you are only required to judge the slimness of the target. So if you're ready, click the start button below to begin. So I mean the wording could be a little bit clunky here, but you know we can replace it. So for this experiment, it's a little bit different to the perception one, because this one we don't need them to grab something to position it. That's why I'm not using a hand. I'm using just a laser pointer with the controller. So this is the Oculus controller. So when I click start, the experiment's going to run, and we will have for the alone condition, we will have the female subject in front of us, and there will be no distractors. For the other conditions, of course, the distractors will be surrounding the female subject, but you'll notice that they are arranged in a bowling pin position, a bowling pin formation, if you know what I mean. So I'll just start. There we go. So please click on the button below. 1 severely underweight, 4 healthy weight, 7 severely overweight. So just choose 4. So I'm just randomly selecting the buttons now. I'm not actually properly doing the experiment. So this is in 3D space, so I can actually, walk around, look at them from a different angle if I want. So there's a real-time light source that's being used now. That's why you see shadows being cast on the subject and on the distractors. All right, end of experiment. Thank you. So now I'm going to take off the headset and we can look at the data set. All right. So here you see my the data file. So here's the date and here's the time. Yes, I'm not asleep yet at 11:16 p.m. So let's drag this data file to an Excel workbook, and we can open it up as an XML table. And then I'll just drag it to this screen. All right. So you've seen all this before when I was explaining things a little bit earlier. And notice we have the values, the rating values here, 4, 6, 7, 1. So those are the values, those were the numbers that I clicked, and my response time. So 10 seconds, 2.5 seconds, 1.8 seconds, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this prototype. And of course, I mean, going ahead, I'm sure there are more things you want, and there'll be more tweaks to be done. So feel free to let me know, and I hope it runs without any issues when you just copy and paste it on the laptop, right?